Hello and welcome. Wherever you are right now, whatever this day brought you, you can set it all down, just for a little while. You don't need to carry any of it with you tonight. If you'd like, gently close your eyes, or just let your gaze go soft. Rest it on whatever's in front of you, without really focusing on anything at all. Let your body settle a little deeper into wherever you're lying or sitting. Feel the quiet heaviness in your arms, your legs, that gentle weight that comes at the end of a long day. Take a slow breath in and let it go just as slowly. And again, breathing in and out. Tonight, we're going somewhere very, very far away, somewhere vast and still and ancient. We're going to drift through the spaces between galaxies, through the deep silent ocean of the universe itself. And we're going to watch something extraordinary happen in the gentlest, most unhurried way possible. We're going to watch galaxies dance. Not quickly. Nothing out here moves quickly. Everything moves in the language of billions of years, in slow, patient, graceful arcs through the dark. And there's something deeply restful in that, when you think about it. Out here, there is no rush. There never has been, so let yourself arrive here, gently. Let your breathing find its own easy rhythm, and if, at some point during our journey tonight, you find yourself drifting off to sleep, that is perfectly wonderfully fine. That is, perhaps, the whole point. We have nowhere else to be. There is a kind of beauty that only reveals itself when you slow down enough to notice it. Most of our lives move at the speed of ordinary things, the speed of traffic, and conversations, and notifications, and clocks. But the universe has always been doing something else entirely, something unhurried, something so slow and so vast that it barely registers as movement at all, at least not in the way we usually think about it. Galaxies. Those enormous ancient collections of stars and gas and dust and mystery are not sitting still out there in the dark. They are moving. They have always been moving. And sometimes, over timescales almost too large to imagine, they drift toward one another, drawn together by the quiet, invisible pull of gravity, until, slowly, they begin a long, sweeping, graceful process of merging, of becoming something new. Scientists sometimes call this a galactic merger, but that word, merger, sounds too sharp, too businesslike for what it actually looks like. It looks more like a dance, a long, slow, silent dance, played out across hundreds of millions of light years, with no audience but the universe itself. What we're exploring tonight is not a fast or dramatic story. By its very nature, it's the opposite of dramatic. It's a story about patience, about silence, about how enormous forces can move so gently that nothing is ever truly broken, even as everything is slowly, quietly changing. One way to think about it: imagine two enormous clouds of mist drifting toward each other on a perfectly still morning. They don't crash, they don't shatter, they simply drift. They begin to overlap at the edges, they blend, and eventually they become something neither one of them was before, something larger, something quieter, something new. That is, more or less, what galaxies do. And as we drift through this story tonight, through the vast and silent spaces of the cosmos, you might find that the universe has a way of making the small worries of a single day feel very gently, very lovingly small. Let's begin. Before we can understand the dance, we need to feel the space where it happens. The universe, at its largest scales, is mostly empty. Not empty the way a quiet room is empty, but empty in a way that's almost beyond what our minds were built to hold. The distances between galaxies are so enormous that even light, the fastest thing we know of, can take millions of years to cross them. millions of years of travelling at the fastest speed anything can travel, and still arriving somewhere that feels very much like the middle of nowhere. And yet, that middle of nowhere isn't truly nothing. Scientists have found, through patient observation and careful thought, that the universe is arranged into something called the cosmic web, a vast three-dimensional structure, something like an extraordinarily delicate net stretched across all of space, made not of thread, but of something far more subtle, something called dark matter, woven through with long gentle filaments of gas and dust and the light of billions of stars. Along the strands of this web, galaxies gather. They cluster together in slow, loose communities. And between those communities, between those long glowing threads, there are voids, enormous, dark, nearly empty regions of space that stretch on and on, almost forever. Imagine standing in the middle of one of those voids. There would be almost nothing around you. No nearby stars, no nearby galaxies. Just stillness and darkness and the faintest, most distant glow at the very edge of your sight. It would be, in a way, the quietest place in all of existence. There's something strangely peaceful in that image. We're so used to filling space with things, with sound and light and furniture and people. But out here, in the voids between galaxy clusters, space is simply allowed to be itself, vast and patient and undisturbed. And it is from those gathering places, along the threads of the cosmic web, that galaxies slowly begin to find one another. Gravity, that most quiet and persistent of forces, begins its work. Not with a jolt, not with anything you could feel, but with the gentlest, most patient of tugs, so gentle that over millions of years it barely seems like anything is happening at all. But something is always happening, slowly, gently, quietly, always. Before we watch them dance, it helps to spend a moment with what a galaxy actually is. A galaxy is, at its heart, a family, a very large family. A collection of stars, sometimes just a few billion, sometimes hundreds of billions, all held together by gravity, all slowly orbiting a common centre, all travelling together through the universe on a shared, ancient journey. Our own galaxy, the one we live inside, is called the Milky Way. On a clear, dark night, far from city lights, you can see a small piece of it with your own eyes. A soft, hazy band of light stretched across the sky, made up of so many stars they blur together into a gentle, quiet glow. That glow, that soft smear of light you might notice on a summer night, is home to somewhere in the range of hundreds of billions of stars. Each one, in some sense, is a sun, each one burning quietly in its own corner of the galaxy. And some of them, scientists now believe, are surrounded by their own planets, their own solar systems, their own small, quiet worlds. And the Milky Way is just one galaxy, one member of a universe that contains, by most estimates, hundreds of billions of galaxies, each one a vast, slow-spinning community of stars, each one following its own long, patient arc through space. When you look at a photograph of a galaxy, one of those beautiful spiral shapes, with long arms curling gracefully outward from a soft glowing centre, it might look like something still and posed, like a painting. But it isn't still. It's spinning slowly, at a speed that would seem enormous up close, but from far enough away, looks like perfect stillness. Everything is moving. Everything is turning. And yet, from where we sit, the night sky looks almost perfectly calm. That is the quiet magic of scale. The bigger and more distant something is, the more still it appears, and the universe is very, very big. It's the kind of thought that can help a busy mind go quiet, if you let it. You are one small, warm, living thing on one small planet, orbiting one ordinary star inside one spiral galaxy, drifting gently through the cosmic web. And from far enough away, you would look perfectly, beautifully still. There is something the universe is built on that we cannot see. Scientists call it dark matter, and while the name sounds a little mysterious, the idea itself is actually quite gentle. It simply means there appears to be a kind of substance in the universe that doesn't glow, doesn't shine, and doesn't emit any light we can detect. We can't see it directly. We can only notice it by the way it shapes everything around it. One way to feel it? Think of the wind. You can't see the wind itself, but you can see the trees bending. You can feel it against your skin. You know it's there not because you can observe it directly, but because of the shapes it makes in the world. Dark matter works something like that. Scientists can see that galaxies behave as if there's far more gravity pulling on them than the visible stars and gas alone could account for. Something else is there, quiet, invisible, and enormously influential, and that something is what we call dark matter. Dark matter, scientists generally believe, forms the scaffolding of the cosmic web. It's the invisible architecture around which everything else is built. Those long filaments, the threads along which galaxies gather, are shaped largely by dark matter, slowly pulling ordinary matter toward it over billions of years, almost like a gentle current in a river, quietly drawing leaves toward the same soft, still eddy. And dark matter plays one of the most important roles in the slow dance of galaxies. As two galaxies drift toward each other, their halos of dark matter, the invisible clouds that surround each galaxy, extending far beyond its visible edges, begin to interact first. They begin to overlap, to gently intermingle. Long before any two stars ever come close to one another, the invisible parts of each galaxy are already quietly reaching toward the other. There's something that feels right about that somehow, that the first touch between two enormous ancient structures happens invisibly, quietly, in the parts of them that no one can see. And slowly, gently, the dance begins. Now we come to the dance itself. It doesn't begin with a dramatic moment. There is no announcement, no sudden shift, just the slow, patient work of gravity, pulling two immense structures, gently, gradually, toward one another across an enormous stretch of space and time. When two galaxies begin to approach each other, the process takes hundreds of millions of years. That's not a sentence to rush past. Hundreds of millions of years, more time than has passed since the first complex animals appeared on Earth. More time than most of us can genuinely feel, even if we can say the words. And during all of that time, very little appears to change. The galaxies drift, they draw closer, almost imperceptibly. Their shapes remain largely their own. They are still themselves, still whole, still spinning in their own quiet rhythms. But gravity is patient, gravity doesn't hurry, and eventually, the two galaxies draw close enough that they begin to feel each other's presence in a more definite way. Their shapes begin to change, almost like two candle flames leaning gently toward each other in a soft breeze. Long streamers of stars begin to pull away from the edges of each galaxy, drawn outward by the tidal forces of the approaching companion, like water quietly rising on a tide. Scientists call these tidal tails, and in astronomical images, they are among the most beautiful structures you will ever see. Long, curving arcs of starlight, sweeping softly outward into the dark, elegant against the black of space. There is no violence in this. That is perhaps the most surprising thing, and the most beautiful. Even as two things so enormous begin to change each other in fundamental ways, the process is graceful, unhurried. The stars within each galaxy don't crash into each other. The spaces between stars are so vast that even as two galaxies overlap, most individual stars simply drift past one another, following new, more complex paths through the combined landscape of gravity. Think of it like two slow rivers merging. The water doesn't shatter at the meeting point. It simply flows together, finding new paths, new currents, a new sense of where it's going. Slowly, gently, as everything out here does. The merging of two galaxies is not a single moment. It is a process. Long, gradual, and in its own way, deeply patient. After that first long approach, after the tidal tales have unfurled, and the shapes of both galaxies have begun to soften and shift, the two structures may actually pass through each other, continuing on their paths for a while before gravity gently draws them back. This can happen more than once, a slow sweeping past, and then a returning, like two dancers who turn away before drifting back together, drawn by something neither one resists. Each pass brings them a little closer to their final, combined form. Each orbit decays slightly, as energy is transferred in ways that are subtle and gradual. And eventually, after perhaps 1 billion years or more of this slow back and forth, the two galaxies settle into one. What remains is usually something called an elliptical galaxy, where once there may have been two graceful spirals, their arms sweeping outward in slow starlit curves. What forms is often a softer shape, rounder, more even, like a great glowing cloud of stars, all moving in gentle complex orbits that quietly carry the memory of two different pasts. Elliptical galaxies are among the largest structures in the universe, ancient, soft glowing communities of billions of stars, shaped by the long histories of the galaxies that made them. They tend to be quieter than spirals, less active star formation, less gas and dust swirling around to make new suns. They are, in a sense, older, more settled, more at peace. One way to hold this image, imagine two forests slowly growing into each other over centuries. The trees don't fight. They simply grow, reaching toward the light, finding space where space is available. And eventually, the boundary between one forest and the other becomes impossible to find. What remains is simply a forest, larger, richer, made of two histories that are now just one. That is what a merged galaxy is. A single thing, carrying the memory of two, drifting quietly through a universe that has been doing this, patiently and continuously, for billions of years. Here is something worth sitting with gently. Our own Milky Way is not exempt from this slow dance. Scientists generally believe that our nearest large galactic neighbour, a galaxy called Andromeda, is slowly, very slowly, drifting toward us. Andromeda is actually visible to the naked eye on a clear night, if you know where to look. A faint, soft smear of light in the constellation of the same name. It's the most distant thing most human eyes have ever directly seen, more than 2 million light years away, and yet it is moving in our direction. Not quickly, nothing like quickly. It's approaching at a speed that, while enormous in everyday terms, is still tiny compared to the vastness between us. The encounter, when it comes, is still billions of years in the future, longer than Earth has even existed so far. But it is coming, slowly, patiently, inevitably. And when it does, when the Milky Way and Andromeda finally begin their long, graceful merging, the night sky, as seen from any planet still here to witness it, will change. Over millions of years, Andromeda will slowly grow brighter. It will spread across the sky. The two galaxies will begin to overlap, and the darkness between stars will slowly fill with more light, more stars, more of that soft ancient glow. And eventually, after billions of years of this slow, beautiful process, this collision that isn't really a collision at all, what remains will be a single, quiet, elliptical galaxy. Something new, something made of both of us. Astronomers sometimes call this future object Milkomeda, a name that is perhaps a little informal, but has a kind of warmth to it. Milkomeda. Made of Milky Way and Andromeda, two ancient things becoming one. There's something quietly comforting in that. The idea that even our own galaxy, our own great community of hundreds of billions of stars, is part of this larger process. That nothing in the universe is truly separate, that everything, given enough time, finds its way toward everything else, that even the vastness of space is slowly and gently and quietly a kind of belonging. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about all of this is the silence. Out in space, there is no sound. This isn't a dramatic or alarming fact. It's simply what space is. Sound needs something to travel through. The vibration of air, or water, or solid material. A wave needs water to move. In the near-perfect emptiness of space, there isn't enough material for sound to carry in any meaningful way. And so all of this, the vast cosmic web, the drifting galaxies, the long tidal tails of stars, the slow billion-year dance of merging, all of it happens in complete, absolute silence. No crashes, no roars, no deep rumble of enormous structures slowly bending, just the quiet sweep of gravity doing its gentle, patient work, and the soft, cold light of billions of stars moving through the dark, without making a single sound. When you hold that image in your mind, two galaxies slowly, gracefully merging, each one containing hundreds of billions of stars, you might expect it to feel overwhelming, to feel loud somehow, even in the imagination. But it doesn't have to, because there is another way to receive it. You can let the silence come to you. Let the image be what it actually is: quiet, slow, unfolding over a time scale so immense that in any given moment you wouldn't notice anything moving at all. You could sit on some small quiet planet at the edge of one of these merging galaxies and look up at the sky, and what you'd see would look almost exactly like stillness. The other galaxy would be a soft brightness on one side of the heavens, spreading so slowly over millions of years that it would feel like peace itself. You would have to slow yourself down enormously, to the speed of geological time, to the speed of the universe itself, to even notice it as motion. But it is moving. Everything is moving, and all of it, in its own ancient, unhurried way, is heading somewhere, in perfect silence, in perfect peace. We have drifted a long way tonight, through the vast, quiet spaces of the cosmic web, past the invisible threads of dark matter woven gently through the dark. Alongside galaxies the size of 100 billion suns, slowly, patiently, gracefully drawing toward one another, across distances that take light millions of years to cross, we watched as two enormous spirals of stars began their long, slow dance. We saw the tidal tails unfurl, those soft arcs of starlight pull gently outward. We watched gravity, patient and quiet and persistent, draw two ancient things slowly, inevitably together. We came to understand that what looks like a collision is not really a collision at all, that even the merging of two of the largest structures in the universe is a process of grace, of patience, of one thing slowly becoming something new, without urgency, without violence, without noise. And we sat for a moment with the thought that even our own galaxy, the one we live inside, is part of this slow, grand dance that billions of years from now, the Milky Way and Andromeda will begin their own long approach, their own gentle, inevitable merging. And what remains will be something neither of them is now, something larger, something quieter, made of two very old things becoming one. The universe has been doing this for billions of years, long before any of us were here to watch it, long before there were eyes to see the soft glow of a distant galaxy, or minds to wonder what it meant, and it will continue for billions of years after, with the same patience, the same silence, the same slow and beautiful indifference to hurry. You are part of this universe. Every atom in your body was made in the heart of a star. You are, in a real and literal sense, made of the same ancient material as those galaxies drifting quietly through the dark. So tonight, as you rest, as you let your body grow heavy and your thoughts grow soft and loose, you are not separate from any of this. You are part of the dance. You always have been. The universe is very old and very large and very quiet. And tonight, in this small warm moment, so are you. Let yourself drift. Let your thoughts go soft. You don't need to hold on to anything tonight. The cosmos has been taking care of itself for longer than we have words to describe. And somewhere out there, two ancient galaxies are drifting slowly toward each other, moving in perfect silence, taking billions of years to do what they are gently, quietly doing. There is no rush. There never has been. If you're still here, still listening, that's just fine. You can keep resting. Let the silence of space be the last thing you carry with you into sleep. And if you find yourself still awake and looking for somewhere else to drift tonight, there are more journeys like this one waiting for you whenever you're ready. More quiet corners of the universe, more gentle ancient stories told at the speed of stars. But for now, there's nothing you need to do. Nowhere you need to go. Just rest. Let your breathing find its own rhythm. Let the image of soft, slow, starlit galaxies drift through whatever remains of your waking thoughts. Good night. Sleep gently. The universe will still be here when you wake up. Vast and quiet and patient, turning slowly in the dark, exactly as it always has.